Welcome to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. This is where you're going to discover how to bring awakening into the body and into everyday life through powerful tantric teachings. Get ready to release, open and step into your true power. So I'm excited to be here with you all. I'm always excited to share the jewels of Tantra and to support people in really feeling another option to living their own life and another option to supporting clients. Because the most popular options, which I dove really deeply into before I found Tantra, when I'm 48 now, I was 31 when I found Tantra. I was diagnosed with cervical cancer, which took me on a journey of exploring my feminine, which took me on a journey of exploring Tantra. And preceding that, I really dived into trauma therapy, somatic therapy, meditation, personal development, non-duality, Vedanta, and all of this was extremely helpful. And there was something missing. There was all of this understanding from therapy of like, oh, okay, this is why I have this behavior, because my mum and dad were like this. Oh, and this is what I'm carrying of my mum and dad's. And I understand and can be much more compassionate to myself why I have anxiety, because I'm taking on my mum's anxiety. I can be compassionate and understand why I'm such a huge caretaker, because my father was a caretaker. I can feel why my nervous system is often in danger and threat because of the different levels of abuse in my life, and all of this understanding from therapy. And, like the beauty of being able to share with someone and tell my story. And it was helpful. Did it really change how I felt inside? Did it really shift the trajectory of my being from the stress of the mind, which is constantly reliving the past and projecting into the future? No. And I feel like that what I just mentioned, the mind reliving the past and projecting into the future, is the biggest issue that people face. And I want you to just really consider that a miracle could happen today. And that miracle could be that we all have a shared intention, and shared intention always infuses things with more magic, that we all have a shared intention to live here in this moment with our direct experience and be a transmission of that for others if we're wanting to go down the practitioner path, because this is what we need most in the world than anything else. There is so much distraction. There is so much judgment from the mind of good and bad, should and shouldn't, this person's doing this person's doing that, and so little allowance of life that we're in a really tricky position where this is what's most alive instead of the heart. And if you look at the state of the world, what we're needing is heart, and what we're needing is leaders who can be bastions of love, and who, rather than buying into the mind's stories, can go into a broader consciousness that is actually interested in uniting forces and creating heaven on earth and something epic here. So that's my prayer. And perhaps we all just want to take a moment to put our hands on our heart and be really grateful to ourselves for showing up here. Be really grateful for the opportunities that we have and the freedom we have to be exposed to this kind of work. When I first started doing this, it was so controversial and not many people were exploring it at all. So we give thanks for this opportunity. We give thanks for ourselves for showing up. And we give thanks to the availability of information and practices these days to really expand beyond what has been into what's hopefully a new era, where there's less inner war and therefore less outable with our immediate family, friends, loved ones, acquaintances, and then on a broader spectrum with each other. Okay, and then the other area that I really dived into, which is a strong part of the foundation of Tantra, is meditation and is being able to observe our experience and witness it rather than being so involved in it that the mind is trying to make sense of our experience. We're wanting to blame and shame others for what's happening, all of the different impulses and habits of the personality. The way that Tantra looks at meditation is that meditation is not just something you do on the mat. Meditation is life, and Tantra is life. So, incorporated in meditation is the feminine principle of aliveness, so that when we're not only just witnessing and observing life and observing what's going on in our body, but we're feeling it fully and we're allowing it fully. So this was really amazing for me. When I first found Tantra, I was so used to meditation being a very serious thing where you sit and you watch the mind and you don't follow the thoughts. You don't resist the thoughts. You simply observe. And there's an element of detachment from the personality. And that's beautiful. That's a great foundation. And then all of a sudden, I'm being told that actually our humanness, our personality can be part of meditation, that our soul can be part of meditation, that actually meditation can involve dynamic movement and sound as a way of releasing stuck energy. So, when someone asks the question, what is Tantra? There are so many answers that I could give, but really I find that in life, what is most simple is most profound, and Tantra is life. Tantra is actually being in a position where you are surrendered to the biggest teacher in your life, and that which is life itself. And that instead of resisting anything that comes your way, you're actually feeling it as a teacher. You're trusting in life to support you to feel what would otherwise be unfelt, to maybe find a yes and a no that otherwise wouldn't be discovered, to feel into your needs, to receive the beauty of life and existence, to engage in relationships as a path to awakening, engage in sexuality as a path to awakening. So Tantra is the path to wholeness. It says everything is welcome in the spiritual path. No part of you is not welcome. No part of you is not lovable. And I found this very confusing. I'm like, but how can I love parts of me that are shadows? How can I love the part of me that's controlling? How can I love the part of me that can be a bit flaky and impulsive? How can I love the part of me that sometimes loses my shit and gets angry at my kids? And to put it really clearly, which will hopefully support you all, loving the different parts of you means getting curious about them rather than resisting them, because what we resist persists, and what we get curious about begins to unfurl like a flower. If you think about when you're upset, if you think about when something's going on that's really difficult, if someone comes over to you and says, "Oh, you're so bad for doing that. That's terrible. Okay, let's try to fix you." What are you doing? Okay, and you're crying, or you're really angry, or maybe you're feeling disappointed or afraid, and this person is just bombarding you with all of these ways that you're wrong and all of these ways that you need to get fixed. Is that really going to heal those parts? Or that person just locks you in an attic and says, "You're really terrible, don't come out." You're going to be like a trapped animal that when you do get let out, when your defenses are down, when you're triggered, or when you're unwell, or some big life-changing event is happening, or you're pissed, or you've taken drugs and the real you is seen, then it really comes out and creates damage. So what I started to see was when we pay attention to all the parts of us, even the parts that our parents deemed unworthy or society deems unworthy or we're judging as unworthy, when we actually can hold and love those parts and get curious about them, the healing is absolutely phenomenal. And when you're working with clients, when you're working with your own being, it is so important to, instead of trying to fix that person, instead of trying to get them to understand why they're like that because their mum did this and their dad did this, and it's never ending. The analysis is never ending. Or instead of going, just observe it, we're actually saying, you know what? Be where you are. Be who you are. Feel everything fully. Be totally present, totally alive, and don't try to control your experience. Just be here, loving every part of you, feeling every part of you. And what starts to happen is this magical alchemy where when you actually give yourself permission and your clients permission to be here now with your direct experience, feeling everything fully, we start to surrender to life, because life is not supposed to give you everything you want. Life is supposed to be as it is. We can't control life. How the fuck can we control life? Life is a whole thing it's like, what is this miracle? How do we end up here? We enter our mother's womb. We incarnate into this human body from God knows where. We're here for 80 or 90 years if we're lucky, on a billions of years time frame. And most of us waste so fucking much of that trying to understand something that we cannot understand. The best gift that you can give yourself and your clients is to be in the rare small percentage of people and support others to be in the rare small percentage of people who can fucking handle this life now and every day, not by going into their past and drawing up the relics of their childhood and exploring every stone until all the parts of us are explained by something that someone did and our parents, and it's useful. I'm not saying it's not useful. It's not the peace. It is not the peace that transforms who we are. What the peace is that transforms who we are is saying, can we have enough power, enough sovereignty that we know within ourselves, and that we can give our clients this same power, that no matter what happens in life, there is a center of beingness within us. That is the masculine principle of Tantra, because the biggest foundation of Tantra is inner union, masculine and feminine coming together. Can we have this center of masculine energy that's able to witness without judgment, hold space and create safety for whatever's happening inside? Take the focus off the external and actually be with sensations and our emotions without distracting, without trying to find solutions and not have to feel pain. We're trusting life. We're here. We're going, this is it. This is as it is. Let me feel this. And the only way that I can feel safe to fully feel this is to be able to observe this. But I'm not just going to go into the observation. I'm not going to ignore a huge part of life, which is what I did pre-Tantra. A big part of why I got cervical cancer, because I was completely denying my feminine longing, her fears, her anger. I didn't even remember my sexual abuse until I found Tantra after 7 years of somatic therapy and trauma therapy, just to give you an idea. Because what Tantra does, it's working with the body, and the body is basically the unconscious. So it's bringing everything up that would otherwise be unseen. And that's where the change happens. We don't change with what we're conscious of. We don't change listening to podcasts and reading posts and asking ChatGPT questions. That's not change. That's going to give our mind more information that's already spent 12 years at school sitting on a chair, listening and being penetrated into our mind. What is your unique essence? What are you here for? What are your clients here for? What is your alignment? Can you support yourself and others to no longer distract away from this soul, this being that, yes, has a personality, but also has a spirit that is eternal, that also has a beating heart, that also has emotions that are all telling us something? And so, yes, we have that masculine center, but we also have this feminine wisdom. And this body has so much wisdom. And the best practitioner in the world does not have any ideas about what needs to fix someone. The best practitioner in the world knows that the wisdom inside the person that they're sitting with is the greatest wisdom of all. And the reason they know that is because they've tapped into it in their own being. They've seen the difference it's made, and they're naturally passionate about bringing that forth. And so the practitioner training is a journey of going into your own being so deeply, feeling the richness of that and mining the jewels of your heart, your sexuality, and your consciousness. And then naturally just wanting that for the whole fucking world. Let's mine the jewels of you. Let's actually feel what there is to feel inside you, beyond your conditioning, beyond your identity. And yes, sometimes in the experiences, things from the past are coming out because the body remembers what the mind forgets. Do we need to go into that and analyze that? No. This is enough to feel it and to actually allow it a voice, because so many parts of us are frozen in time. We have all of these experiences accumulating our life, all of these experiences where our expression was choked, where we put on masks to please our parents so that we would be loved, where we did what we should do, where we were a good girl, good boy, sat in that classroom even when we needed to pee but we couldn't leave the classroom, or we needed some fresh air, or just needed some expansion with all the contraction of just sitting in a room on a chair listening. What's the best way to take people's power away? Rather than allowing the uniqueness of what's inside to flower like beautiful, unique petals connecting in God's garden so that we can all come together and make this world more beautiful, we'll just focus on information and getting the right score and competing and comparing ourselves. We need to unlearn what's been taught as the most important thing. And in that unlearning, what we actually discover is that the greatest joy, the greatest alignment, the greatest sense of being lit up
If you're ready to transform your life and relationships from the inside out, while also gaining the skills to hold others through their own breakthroughs without the need for certification or showing up for live calls, explore our flexible, self-paced practitioner training. The link is provided in our show notes.
Is in the knowing that no matter what happens in life, you can trust it and allow it and listen to it and listen to your body's responsiveness to it. Your power is never going to be on focusing on trying to feel safe by controlling life and controlling people. You're going to waste your life, and your clients are going to waste their life. And do you know how many practitioners don't actually ask their clients the most important question? How do you feel every day when you wake up? What does your day look like? What do you actually really desire sexually? What do you desire in your relationships? What would life look like if you were living fully aligned with your soul? How do you feel deep inside about the fact that your partner's never around, if that's the case, or your partner's like always needing you to hold space for them, or and then it comes up and we converse. And in every session, of course, there's conversation. There's an invocation of forces that are providing for us love and support beyond this 3D reality. And then there's a conversation about what really matters. I mean, not once in any of my personal development seminars, any of my Vipassanas or meditation seminars, did anyone ask me, how do you feel about your life? How do you feel when the lights are out and nobody's watching? How do you feel first thing in the morning? There was lots of like, you don't need to suffer, you can just observe everything. And then the personal development, like, you can choose how you feel. Do this affirmation, do that. And I fucking love that shit. Of course, we want to like not focus on the negative and focus on the positive. But if the body is unsettled, which mine was, if the body is holding on to some scars and tension from the past, what chance do we have? So, what Tantra says is let's observe, let's witness, but let's also go, what is here now? And what would happen if I finally gave that a voice? And rather than just observing the knot that's in my stomach, what about if I went into that knot and just, oh, had some touch placed on it by a practitioner who can touch me with loving presence that has no agenda? If I can touch myself with a hand that does that, and I can start to actually unravel the tension that's been locked, not talk about my anxious mother and my emotionally abusive mother, but actually feel what it was like as a child to be under her power and to have to caretake her, because that's all still living inside me. And what's still living inside you, you're attracting. So, everyone talks about in personal development, the laws of attraction and being positive and seeing what it is that you want and attracting that. How many people talk about the fact that whatever beliefs live inside your body that you're not looking at, that you're not actually fully feeling, is also creating your reality? So guess what? The feminine in every man that I was attracting was anxious and emotionally abusive. And every man I was attracting was in the non-dual, spiritual, esoteric dimensions. My father and my mother. Oh, I get that. I get that now, because Tantra talks about this masculine and feminine energy, but from the perspective of not needing to understand and go into that over and over again, but actually feel it in your own body. Part of what Tantra does is it gives us courage to jump off the cliff when we need to leave the job that doesn't resonate, to leave the relationship that's actually not fulfilling us, to get honest with ourselves. We can be meditating and observing, and we can be in personal development, creating our future. But the work that really changes everything, and we can also be going into all of our trauma. And then, what happened to me when I was going into that is I just was like taking responsibility for everything. Oh, I'm like this because my mum was like this. I did this because of this, and analyzing. It didn't change my relationship at all. And the dissatisfaction I was experiencing. I was also very satisfied, just to honor that relationship. My first marriage was so beautiful, but there were so many parts of it that I just didn't know how to express what I needed. I didn't know how to not try to please him and not try to make the relationship work. Tantra is the end of all of the trying. It's a being here now and a curiosity of the reality. And then once we face that reality, being willing to move in the direction of our truth. And that is fucking hard, but it is so worth it. My life literally completely changed. I left my job that was really high paying because I realized it wasn't in alignment. I left my marriage with my husband, who I had 2 kids with and who I actually really loved, but we were incompatible. And I discovered that through Tantra. And I started traveling around the world with a bunch of fucking crazy nuts at the time, is what I thought. But I kept getting pulled in. There was a part of my soul that's like, I need this. And, when the first Tantra teacher said to me, everyone's beating pillows and feeling their anger, he was like, can you feel some of your anger? I'm like, I'm looking at these people going, Jesus. And I don't really feel angry. And I had this like superiority complex. And he was encouraging me, but I couldn't feel it until I did. And then I was like a volcano that had been holding onto my lava for like 30 years and exploded into this almighty volcanic rage that had been being held back. And finally, I wasn't anxious anymore because I could actually express the anger I had at my mother. I could actually express the grief I had with my father. I'm not talking about all the fucking trauma. I'm actually finally just letting that little girl have a voice and say, come home. And say, go away, stop abusing me. And the beauty of Tantra, and like after we converse with a client and we actually get them in their body, feeling the aliveness is what's here, is that actually we can just shake shit up and start to move and cry and feel all this longing inside and get real with who we are, because who you are is beautiful. Who you are is unique, and every client that sits with you deserves to feel the truth of what is actually going on inside and of what is going on in their life and what they're replicating from their childhood. Instead of analyzing childhood, we take a trauma-informed approach, which is very different to trauma therapy. A trauma-informed approach acknowledges that, yes, there's trauma in the body, and we need to create safety to be able to feel that with powerful regulation tools, which I've got so much knowledge around that. It's all woven into the training. And Erin, my beautiful steward in creating safety in this training, her and I spent many, many months and hours just like refining the safety of this training, so that what I observed and felt in a lot of Tantra environments doesn't happen in our training, which was just letting everything out, but not having the safety to actually integrate the experience, not having the safety to titrate between, yes, the expansion of feeling everything fully, discharging stuck energy, but also breathing, feeling grounded, coming into the body and being able to titrate between the expansive feeling of release and newness, but also contraction, not contraction in a bad way, but just like this capacity to also breathe in, contain, feel, ground, so that the in-breath and the out-breath are equal, so that the release and the grounding, because what I witnessed and observed was that in a lot of the Tantra environments I was in, there was a lot of this breathing. And people were in the past not knowing that they were sometimes, and sometimes knowing, and it was just too much for the body to feel. So there's this stress response that's going. So in our training, we're very particular about supporting a trauma-informed approach that creates safety to be with what's here and to not go beyond the window of tolerance that's going to support full integration of the experience. Thanks for listening to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. For more great free resources, in-person and online workshops, and our retreats, find us on Instagram and Facebook at Embodied Awakening Academy, or visit embodiedawakeningacademy.com.